ill or otherwise disabled relief and emotional well-being for their time of service in Dallas County. And whereas leave time, at least until discharge, which may provide service to families restricted from service by the current Social Security Act provisions. The Nurse Association of Dallas contract with the Texas State Department of Public Welfare.
People?
The Old County Jail is a good jail. It's is I think Sheriff Jones is right. Chester, the overpopulated condition of both the Old County Jail and the New County Jail.
The shift in emphasis is due to the new water pollution law passed by Congress just before the session ended. It provides both stiffer penalties for water polluters and it puts the weight of the U.S. government behind enforcement. Two representatives from the Environmental Pollution Agency's legislative session are in Dallas to talk about the new law's provisions, as well as other laws that will affect the environment. They include the Marine Protection Act, which will govern ocean dumping, and the new Pesticide Control Act. Susan P. Walker, one of the EPA team in Dallas, says there are several points in the new law that will help clean up rivers like the Trinity. One is a section that will require cities to have secondary sewage treatment in the next few years. Another will require stricter pollution control efforts on the part of state agencies, with plans for enforcement being approved by the EPA administrator in Washington. The Environmental Pollution Agency hopes the new law, which they say meets with the approval of environmentalists, will go a long way toward cleaning up rivers, streams, and lakes in Texas, as well as the rest of the nation. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News, on the move.
Initiatives in the environmental area, and a number of areas speculate on what will be. There's nothing imminent, no. To be incorporated in the legislative program, it would be ready by the end of the year.
Passed, or is there?
Speaking of the water pollution control.
First of all, the limitations that are set out in the Act are going to be
Industrial discharges.
extremely precise, unlike those in the old Federal Water Pollution Control Act, which were...
The Marine Protection Research Act. Has there been a location picked yet for the...
I anticipate very much legislation. One of the complaints that we have heard from all of the people who are charged with enforcing the law is that everything now is getting bogged down in the courts. Everybody goes to the court.
We're short the judge.
Oh no, watch it.
I've been trying to here so you can get one.
Prepared to be enforced to apply for old age.
Please, I would like to make a statement in behalf of my candidacy in this race. 145 votes separating this race. I think the law specifies.
Judge,
Determine whether the electorate of Dallas County will return him to a second term of providing safety and tranquility for all the citizens of Dallas County. In this instance, but also the continued program.
Community looked into it to find out if it is a misinterpretation or if it's true, and then do something about it if it's true.
As the major items of business for the legislature?
Certainly lowering our insurance rates in Texas for all Texans is will be a major item of concern. We're going to have to deal with the problem of financing of public education. Of course, that depends on the outcome of the Rodriguez case, which is now before the Supreme Court. We're going to have our hands full next session, but we're going to do a good job for the people of the state of Texas.
Well, I contributed to team pride. We all got together and said that it wasn't no sense in us going on the field and letting the man in front of us whoop us, and we just got together and really got after him.
Mm-hmm. Has the offensive line blocking improved?
Yes, in the last 3 games, they really began to come out, downfield blocking and, on line of scrimmage, getting off the ball, and then, too, the backsmen run and make cowboy. We seem to be able to get out there and block for each other and know where each other are most of the time, and lately we've come out on top.
Mm-hmm. Well, like in the first few games, you tried to gain yards mainly with your moves, and then the last 2, you've really just put muscle into it and gone head down up the middle. Has this helped?
Yes, it's helped a lot. I mean, that's the way I've always ran, with power, and all of a sudden, we began to lose, and the defense began to take its toll on us, I believe, and that kind of made me try to get around them instead of go over them.
Coach, you've won 2 in a row. What does it look like for homecoming?
Well, Steve, we're very optimistic about it. Of course, we're playing a very strong West Texas State team. They have come in with an improved season over what they had last year. They have a 4-4 presently when they were 2-9 last year. And just like us, they're trying to finish up the season strong and show a above percentage record, for the season. So I'm sure they'll be out to win the game just like we are. And of course, we feel we have a few things working in that we are playing at home and it is homecoming. That always helps.
This is the master test frame, or the test center. This equipment monitors and tests all of the relay equipment in the office. This is a trouble card, and by analyzing this card, our repairman can duplicate a troubled call and repair it, hopefully before the customer realizes he's ever encountered a trouble. Our folks are working in here. We're about 70% complete on this project right now. This particular group of wire goes over to our carrier equipment, but by these colors of wires, we're able to trace them throughout the office, and they are used in our testing of this apparatus. We have sufficient central office equipment in here to serve about 5,000 customers on the airport. During the process of designing this office, our engineers have visited all the major airports in the United States: Chicago, San Francisco, Tampa, Florida, where we have similar equipment serving the airport there. We've been working on this particular project since 1968.
This is a 1926 Foden steam truck of a kind used in England in the 1920s. It's a coal-fired locomotive type boiler, and we set out just 3 years ago to drive around the world, and we're 3/4 of the way doing that now.
There are a lot of questions about practicality here, it seems to me. First of all, I must ask, you've had a lot of exposure to this truck. Can you believe that this was actually used for a commercial vehicle?
It is kind of hard to believe, but I think people in the 1920s in England had different ideas of what was expected of a working man. I would certainly demand a fairly high salary to do this for a living.
Well, you are sort of doing it for a living or for an adventure. What prompted you to do this?
Principally boredom, I think. We were fed up with our somewhat mundane jobs in England, and we wanted to see a bit of the world, and this is a way in which we can justify taking 3 years off, because it's something of an education.
The question that I know everybody asks you, but I really have to know, is would you do it again?
I would do it again, provided I was doing it for myself as an amusement. If somebody asked me to do it as a job, I think I would outprice myself.
David's companion on the journey is Michael List Brain, a 27-year-old journalist from Kent, England. Mike's the coy type, prefers to let Trussell talk, but at heart, he's a regular Sterling Moss. She first fired up in 1926, a less hurried time. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. A puff of smoke, a whistle of steam, a hearty hi-ho Britannia. Reticent Mike and his faithful fireman David Trussell ride again. Jerry Taft, Channel 8 News, reporting.
This is a story about chicken feed and pig feed and mule feed and horse feed and catfish feed and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's also a story about Kelly Horner, a former airline stewardess who's moved to Keller here in North Tarrant County to open up this thriving Triple H feed store. Kelly quit jet setting about 6 months ago so she could run, of all things, a feed store.
Kelly, why did you do it? Why did you leave a glamour job like a stewardess to come out here to Keller and operate a feed store?
Well, one of the reasons that glamour starts going out of any job after a while, I suppose, and although I enjoyed flying, I was ready to try something different. And what could be more different than bouncing from flying to the feed business, I guess. We've always had, the normal, the dogs and the cats in the family, but I enjoy very much being around people who raise animals, and I like the horsey set. It's, people who are involved in that type of activity, I enjoy.
Kelly's partner, Sharon Halsworth, spends the week working over in Dallas, so Kelly tends the store during the week and does her best to build up the business. Now, you men may work from sun to sun, but Kelly seems to work round the clock, picking up feed sacks and making sure her customers are satisfied. Now, when a pretty girl is running the local feed store, you might wonder who lugs these 50 and 100-pound sacks out to the car, especially if it's a lady customer like this one. Well, you can see how it happens right for yourself. By the way, the Triple H is the only feed store in town, but Kelly says she tries not to act like it. What Kelly's after is satisfied customers, because the more customers she has means the bigger business she'll do. And that's not chicken feed. Arch Campbell, News 8 on the Move, Keller.
Well, we found that in both the feelings of many of our committee members, and we had a wide segment of leadership of the black community and of witnesses that came before us, that there is a growing number of people, a growing percentage of people in the minority communities that feel that law enforcement responds on one level to the white populace and on another to the minority.
Reference sexism in the schools, where is this found?
In curriculum, in counseling, in textbooks, as she told us. In every aspect. I mean, I think we've all been aware of this, that when we go into the school as a child, we're directed into certain channels, and we'd like to see some changes made.
Now that Amendment 4 passed this week, we're going to have a threefold effort in the House. First of all, we're going to adopt a new set of reform rules at the beginning of the session. Then we're going to give our attention to some reform statutes, some new laws. And then thirdly, the constitutional revision, which the voters have approved or set in motion. We'll follow through on that during the regular session.
In your reforming of the rules of the House, are you going to have an automatic calendar so that there will not be a possibility of putting pressure on a legislator by saying your bill will not come up if you don't go along?
That's right. I want to move to an automatic calendar. The reforms basically in the rules are designed to make the operation of the House more efficient, more democratic, and more open, where people of Texas will know what we're doing at all times.
I don't think they will. No, I would think that it would put them in a very strained or awkward position if
Well, they could just turn it back over to the
changed some from what I took into the original session.
commission does not have
When you get conflicting testimony, how do you?
investigation.
Well, I don't think that
people.
they found that anyone has yet heard all the facts. What you have has been.
And I might say that Channel 13 tonight is having a TV show.
Activities. Besides for women's, we have 7% of our national membership is a male.
They'll probably say, yes, you're right, because they don't have community support system. We have their complete support in this. I think it's probably the most important part.
Done.
How you doing? Oh, just a little bit of everything.
Are we in the movie?
Why not?
You got any coastal movie? Just want one, well.
Yes,
I want to make some bedding in there.
you do.
Yeah,
I just happen to have some.
Just happen to have it.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I even have, if you're going to use it, well, you still couldn't move it. I've got one broken bell over there.
Hi,
How you doing?
fine.
Good.
Got my horsepower checkers ready?
You betcha.
I'm glad you're gonna be trying this. Get rid of that. Get rid of the headache.
And a happy horse you have.
I need another hand. It is. Or a truck.
Nice of you to bring it.
How about that? Good.
7 November, right? Yeah, this is a lot better because this thing was getting a little hot to the right on. We got you all the way up to $4.50. How about that?
The Seagoville State Bank was crowded with people at the time of the attempted holdup. For many of them, it was payday, and they had come to take care of their banking business. The first person approached by Garner was one of the tellers, Mrs. Dita Griffin. She told me she noticed him in her line but didn't suspect anything until she saw his gun. Garner then made his way down the line of tellers demanding their money. But as chance would have it, Dallas County Deputy Sheriff Bobby Baker and his wife were in the bank. And when Garner reached the last teller's cage, Baker was waiting.
Well, I pulled my badge and ID out and walked up to him and told him I was the sheriff's office for him to drop it. And he turned around and pointed the pistol at me. Well, I grabbed him with my left hand, his gun hand, and then I brought my right hand around, and that's when I shot him.
Do you think he was going to shoot you?
I'm reasonably sure of it. He had already told some people in here that he had planned on doing that. He was pretty shook up.
So your gun went off and hit him in the scuffle?
Yes, sir. That's just about it.
Garner was rushed to Parkland Hospital in serious condition. He was shot shortly after 5 o'clock, arrived at the hospital about 5:40, and was dead less than 2 hours later. Back at the bank, authorities barred the doors while they completed their investigation, allowing customers to conduct their banking only at the drive-in window, and a long line of cars quickly formed. But despite the inconvenience, the people could finish their business with the knowledge their bank had not lost any money. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Well, things like the lever on the voting machines next to my name in several instances, I don't know how many, have not worked. People being told they had to vote a straight Democrat ticket, judges going into the precinct places, the punch card ballot machine situation in Harris County, perhaps in Travis County. We've received lots of reports on those. Irregularities, non-functioning, unfamiliarity, creating long lines, and thus turning away many voters.
Grover said another $50,000 in his campaign would have made him governor, and that he asked for more money but could not get it. Although the senator says he got little support from the party leadership, he's not going to start a big fight with them. He's just going to push on with a new campaign.
I'm going to run again. As a matter of fact, I'm beginning immediately. I will, and after all, that's not very long away, and we've proven to a lot of people that we can win. A lot of people didn't believe it. Many people now are calling us saying, I wish I'd known that you could have made it. I would have supported you. I really didn't like him in the first place, but I just thought he was going to win.
What about all this material behind you here? Are you going to be able to use that in 1974?
Well, the buttons, you bet. We can use these. Some of the posters, yes, we can use those. They say the same. The story's the same. It's a short time off. The brochures, we don't have enough of those left to mount anything. I suppose we can use the bumper stickers, too.
Grover thanked those who worked hard for him and left for his farm near San Antonio for some peace and quiet with his family. This is Roger McDonald, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Miss Patricia Hurley is the daughter of the late Patrick J. Hurley. And speaking in Dallas to members of the John Birch Society, she says our China policy is in trouble. She told me in an interview this afternoon that she believes too many Americans have gullibly accepted our new China policy as being in the best interests of world peace.
I'm afraid I agree with what my father said almost a quarter of a century ago. And that is that if Mao Zedong takes over in Red China, well, it's now called Red China, but if Mao Zedong takes over in China, we should leave him strictly alone. And I am of the same opinion, even today.
Is that then to say that that what we've learned through history should have no bearing on change for the future?
Well, that is to say, as Santa Anna said, those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it.
They're so seriously overloaded, they're now going back to the old jail, and you heard on the radio free for a defendant to appeal, and he can maybe be out on bond. The paper this week about the jail raid and the new that here criminal case, and with the criminal work on cases with them, but have no vote.
What are the biggest problems that we have to try to overcome in our present system?
The main problem is cluttered dockets and criminal cases in primarily urban areas. It has been suggested, and there are statistics, of course, to prove this, that the one major cause in the rising urban crime rates are cluttered urban court dockets. People out on bail, pending disposition of their cases in court, people innocent men sometimes languishing in jail because they can't get cases heard. These are the problems, or a few of the major problems in the area that have created the crisis that exists today.
Sit with them and write opinions, and we now have 14 courts of civil appeals, but their jurisdiction is limited to civil.
Meat packers throughout the state are subject to daily inspections by officials of the state health department. One inspector at Aston Meat Company in Fort Worth told me the state regulations are as rigid as the federal laws governing the health standards of meat plants. Meat packers in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and across the state say regulations are not enforced equally and that many of the inspectors are unrealistic. Some of the meat packers say they have been forced out of business as a result. The owner of this plant, J.D. Aston, appeared before a special hearing in Fort Worth today, held by the State House of Representatives Interim Committee on State Meat Inspection. Aston said the state regulations are not designed for the small businessman. Another operator, Bill Walden of Abilene, said the state inspection system is the main reason meat prices are up 10 to 20%. Others who testify said the state inspectors did not have enough training to do their job correctly. The committee chairman, Representative Don Adams of Jasper, and committee member Gib Lewis, state representative from Tarrant County, said they were not surprised at today's testimony. One of the complaints is that they're not trained enough. Do you feel they are?
I think in the beginning they were not. I think we're reaching a point where they're beginning to receive a proper amount of training, and they're going back for retraining periodically.
Based upon the testimony we've heard today, do you feel that some of the inspectors may be dictatorial, as has been charged?
I feel this is possibly true. I think you run into a personality clash here in the Tarrant County and Dallas County in this north central region.
The House Committee on Meat Inspection is to report to the legislature in January. Representative Lewis says there may be a move to expand the meat inspection system, along with improvements, to include supermarkets on a daily basis. The committee will hold 2 more hearings this month in East Texas and in the Valley. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
It's been a tough year for the Dallas Police Department. 2 policemen killed, 3 seriously wounded, and just recently, several officers accused of unjustifiably killing criminal suspects. As one disenchanted officer told me, Dallasites demonstrate when police kill suspects, but when officers die, the silent majority stay at home. Well, true or not, today Dallas policemen were praised for their work. The Goals for Dallas program commended Sergeant James Behringer for 17 years of cracking criminal cases, and the Traffic Safety Commission recognized the Fugitive Division for making over 400 arrests last year and recovering tons of stolen merchandise. Rookie of the Year went to 28-year-old James Redmond, who made a murder arrest and a heroin haul while still in police academy. Also, Dallas County Sheriff Deputy William Grenville was honored for wrapping up a fatal accident investigation in 3 days. But the top Distinguished Service Award went to Dallas Police Officer Leonard Farrow, shot while pursuing an armed robbery suspect last year. Although wounded, Farrow returned fire and captured the suspect alive. After he was awarded this morning, I asked Officer Farrell about the criticisms aimed at policemen who kill instead of wound fleeing suspects.
Unlike any other officer, we're not expert shots. I mean, not to the degree where we could say, I'm going to shoot this subject in the arm or shoot this subject in the leg. In a situation like that, you shoot to stop the man from shooting at you, and if you wound him and he stops, well, you've served the purpose. If the bullet happens to kill the man, well, like I said, you can't aim. I can't tell you what spot I would hit on a man or whether I'd hit him or not. I just try to stop him from shooting me.
Mrs. Terry, why are men not asked to pray with you?
Oh, men are asked to pray with us. We consider the man very definitely to be the spiritual and temporal leader of the home. And we are acting as an intercessor to God and a preserver of the moral character of the nation. And we consider ourselves to be the supportive member. The man is very definitely the head, and this is scriptural.
The buses will be just like the regional airport, something special. At least that's the word from Phil Wagner, area sales manager for General Motors. He told me these buses will feature a whole new concept in airport transportation. The idea, according to Wagner, is to provide the same kind of atmosphere on the ground with which the traveler is accustomed in the air. Wagner said this means the interior of each bus will be designed like the inside of an airplane. Wall-to-wall carpets, reclining seats, skylights, with everything color coordinated. The buses will feature thermostatically controlled air conditioning, stereo music, and plenty of legroom, since they're designed for comfort and not for maximum capacity, 30 to 35 passengers rather than 40 or 50. The buses also are designed to get you there in a hurry at 75 miles per hour, which would put the regional airport less than 30 minutes from Dallas or Fort Worth. Local officials say these buses will help avoid the frustrations of other large airports, in which it sometimes takes the traveler almost as long to get downtown as it did to fly halfway across the country. Dallas and Fort Worth are thinking of purchasing 45 of the buses. The price tag will come to nearly $3.5 million, with the federal government picking up most of the cost. And it may be worth it. Authorities say at the beginning the buses should carry about 3,000 passengers a day, a figure which is expected to increase in conjunction with the future growth of the regional airport. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Helmet on. Go into that door there.
Come on around.
I don't know, because I left after I got the money for him. I asked him, I said, don't you have a tax? And I convinced him that I
Tell me.
This was back behind the gap.
slough off as politics as usual, or, well, that's the way it is in Texas. I think that's the thing to answer any questions that anyone has.
Senator, do you think you might have had a better one?
Yes, sir.
Do you feel disappointed that this was not done?
I felt disappointed all the time.
Answer around town.
Really?
Yeah, so the hometown girl made good.
Yes.
In Encino.
California.
Encino.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've heard of Encino. I don't know how many
It's
times.
in the San Fernando Valley. Blondes.
Well, this girl's very active then.
She is the #1 model in New York, and she is.
Another aspect of the problem is that the cases are not where the judges are and the judges aren't where the cases are. And what the task force proposal proposes to do is to bring the two together. In other words, create a unified court system with judges of a particular court all having equal jurisdiction, able to sit where the need exists for a judge at that time.
We went about certifying it in the first place, and they didn't either. We had to go get a book.
They said, well, I just don't know of anything that'll work. I said, well,
in my own building.
Recognition in the years they have with the Dallas Police Department. The Citizens Traffic Safety Commission.
Reminds me from what
So to speak, to the same degree, he has worked well with
better after it comes greater.
here today. We'd like to thank the business firms and all. Let me tell you just a little bit about Joe. Deputy Randall is 36 years old.
Officer, with the recent police shootings, people have criticized policemen for
spend more time on the ground than you do in the air. Well, the schedule is going to be a 20 minutes.
Most people, if you have a room air conditioner in your home, it's usually a one-time.
Shops will decide where we're going to go. Here's a good spot to do it. If you want to come back.
Yeah, go on, wind up in the
And come this direction the same way. Or the maximum speed. This particular vehicle will do about 75 miles an hour. The other. All right. That's what we're going to do.
Okay. All right. I think along here that we could.
Ms. Harris, I noticed in looking at your list of resolutions, the integration of students and faculties. What about that particular resolution?
Well, this resolution included 4 major parts. One of the more important ones is that we are committed to the achievement of integration through the use of procedures which respect the rights of the individual and which demand respect for law, order, and justice.
Now, when you say the word procedures, would procedures include the endorsement of busing?
Busing was not discussed on the floor of the House of Delegates last night.
Then that word was not entered into the resolution discussion?
No, it did not.
Directed court, managed court, rather than just a system of one court here and one court there doing what they can.
That's exactly right. The problem is that there are no such thing as business methodology in the courtroom today, and that's what we're trying to bring into being, an administrative procedure whereby facility and efficiency can be obtained.
He gets to know these legislators and has been in the legislature working hard. Transactions with other people. Non-operational things like, all we really want you to do is get your full.
Good morning, Ms. Harris. You were